Hey there. I want to talk to you about something that you may be doing in your relationships that might be sabotaging them. And sometimes we do this without even knowing we're doing it. We don't know the level that we might be doing it. And there's three particular areas that we do it, or three different ways that we do it. Any guesses? I mean, a lot of people think that a problem in relationships starts with communication. Well, that's a big one. Others think it's maybe arguing over finances, or disagreeing on things, or arguing all the time. There's a lot of different answers, but I'm going to tell you the number one reason that most relationships fail, marriages fail, is because of expectations. And there's three particular ways that this happens in relationships. And it not only happens in marriages or long-term relationships, but it can happen in business relationships as well. Even in with employer employee, or clients and business owners, it can happen at that level as well. The first area is unrealistic expectations. I know that some of us, or most of us, have been guilty of that at some level or another, haven't we? Going into a relationship, whether it's a business deal, whether it's a personal relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, and we have certain expectations of what's going to happen inside there. Now, let me say, first and foremost, that we should expect to be treated well in any relationship. We should not expect to be mistreated or abused at any level. I'm not for that whatsoever. But having unrealistic expectations goes to another level. It's expecting more than what was bargained for, or more that was expected or conveyed at the time. We can go into relationships and think, this person is going to look after me financially. This person is going to, cater to my every need. This person is going to always defend me and always do this and always do that. We can think of all kinds of things. Or in a business relationship, we can think, okay, my employer is always going to, pay me and give me bonuses, even if I don't, come through and follow through on what I say I'm going to do. They're still going to treat me well. They're still going to look after me. They're still going to do all that stuff. There's unrealistic expectations sometimes when we get into relationships. And over time, that can begin to break down the relationship. I mean, think about it. Think about any personal relationship or romantic relationship that you may have been in or experienced, that someone had higher expectations, and you're like, where did that come from? Guys can be really bad for this. They get into a relationship and just think that their partner is going to look after them, right? Just kind of take care of them the way their mom used to. Doing all the cleaning, all the cooking, all the other things, right? And women, you can be just as guilty, thinking, okay, my man is going to provide, lots of diamond rings and, fancy cars and a big house and all these things. We can have unrealistic expectations when we go into relationships. Another way that we can sabotage our relationships is with unachievable expectations. Now, these are a little bit higher and even more outrageous. You would have to be Superman to live up to the expectations that someone has, that, they're just unachievable, right? You just don't have the strength. You don't have the bandwidth. You don't have the capacity to realistically achieve all the expectations that are required of you. And for women, it could be the same thing. You could, you almost need to be Wonder Woman to be able to work one or two jobs and look after the home and look after the kids and take care of your partner and all the wonderful things that go along with that. And over time, that can begin to wear us down. So unachievable expectations, and they often happen before we go into a relationship. Oftentimes they come from, baggage from past relationships, where we get into a relationship and maybe we were hurt in the past, or we were cheated on in the past, and we come into a new relationship with these unachievable expectations, thinking that this person has to act at such a high standard, and there's no way I'm going to accept any cheating or any of that kind of stuff, which is legitimate. I mean, you shouldn't accept any of that stuff. But sometimes we can get so frustrated. We're so frustrated with the experiences that we've gone through that we now project that onto this new relationship. And now we've pushed that person up to an even higher standard that they can't possibly live up to. And they're walking around on eggshells all the time, trying to make things happen or just do things right. And the third one is probably the most critical one, and it's unmet expectations. This one can break relationships across the board quicker than anything. These are when promises are made, or commitments are made at a certain level, and we break them. We continually don't show up, and over time the person just has no faith that we're going to follow through. And it happens in stages. Right? First, it's just kind of, yeah, sure, whatever. We take the word that this other person is saying and thinking, in the back of our mind, we're thinking, okay, this is never going to happen. They're not going to follow through. But we just accept that, we carry on. Then over time, it begins to put some separation between us. The trust is gone. The confidence in their word is gone. And now we're just kind of going through the motions. And then we just completely isolate it. We completely pull back. And then we start to resent it. We start to resent the relationship because this person is now promising us the moon and delivering us absolutely nothing. Saying that they're going to show up and do things, and it never happens. Promise to fix this and promise to get that, and nothing ever happens. And over time, we just begin to completely check out. And this holds true in romantic relationships, personal relationships, and even in business relationships. I mean, think about it. If you bought a laptop from a store, and you got home and you opened it up and you found that the screen was cracked, there would be an expectation when you took it back that they would either A, replace it, or B, fix it, or do something to reciprocate or take care of the situation. But if they don't follow through on their policies, if they don't follow through on the warranty, are you going to continue to do business with that company? Likely not. I mean, you're not going to say, oh yeah, well that's fine. It's just a computer, no big deal. I'll fork out another $1,500 and buy another computer, and we'll be on our way. Everything will be good, no problem, right? We're not going to do that. We expect people to follow through on their word, and it's no different in relationships. So if you are one that overcommits or overpromises on things, I would encourage you to underpromise and then overdeliver. That's a better approach. Just saying, okay, rather than saying there's 10 things I'm going to do, I promise I'm going to get these done. No, it's just promise 2 that are realistic. Again, remember, realistic expectations, unachievable expectations. Don't promise too much that you know you can't achieve, that you know that you can't meet. But promise and commit to a couple of things. And then once you get those done, then you can add another one or another one on there. That's bonus then at that point. But saying that we're going to do something and never following through is the quickest way to see a relationship break. So I want to encourage you to have a look at your expectations. Look at the baggage that maybe you brought into a relationship. Look at ways that you're setting the relationship up for failure because you know that that person can't possibly achieve the things that you require, the things that you demand. Look at them and say, am I being realistic with this? Am I being realistic for the geographic area and the economic situation that's going on in a relationship? Am I being realistic with this? Am I being realistic with my boss? Instead of expecting a 50% or a 75% raise, maybe it's realistic to expect a few percent and just continue to prove yourself and demonstrate that you're reliable and trustworthy. Maybe there's different things that we can do. There's always a different approach that we can take. And so I want to encourage you, when you're walking out in your relationships, look at your commitments and look at them and say, are these unrealistic expectations that I have? Are they unachievable expectations? Or are there unmet expectations? And then start to deal with them appropriately. Really start to have a look at it. Because remember, in all relationships, you're the common denominator. In your romantic relationships, your family and personal relationships, and your business relationships, in all those relationships, you're the common denominator. And you need to be realistic with yourself and say, okay, is there stuff that I need to do to level up, to become a person that is true to their word, and that I have realistic expectations of how I will be treated, how I will be respected, how I will be loved. And again, remember, I'm not saying that any of us should ever be in a relationship where we expect anything less than good treatment. But there's a difference between unachievable, unrealistic, and unmet expectations. Look, I look forward to talking to you again real soon.